I appreciate the sponsor for bringing this forward. The sponsor indicated that it's personal to him in a way that's different than the way that it's personal to me. But I'd like to speak first from a place of personal experience myself, which is to say that I live in and represent a community that where we saw a tremendous amount of ICE activity, ICE enforcement, ICE detentions and kidnappings in our district. And if you haven't had the experience of taking your kid to the playground, your 2-year-old son to the playground, and him pointing up at the sky and saying helicopter, as the helicopter flies back and forth over your park, knowing that it's exciting to your kid, but that to the rest of your neighbors, it's an instrument of terror, I would urge you, and I hear some of my colleagues scoffing at that word, but I want you to take it seriously, because for my neighbors, they are terrified. Their kids aren't going to school. Their parents aren't going to work. And these aren't just undocumented individuals, and it's certainly not just people with criminal records. And to the leader's point from earlier, our law enforcement can cooperate with federal law enforcement when there's a criminal investigation, when there's a criminal warrant. But when it's indiscriminate terrorizing of our neighbors, which is what I saw on my streets, in my neighborhood, in my park with my kid, our law enforcement won't participate in that. And that's not keeping our community safe. The leader mentioned that we're seeing chaos in our communities, and you're right, leader. But that chaos is being caused by the federal officials who are driving up and down our streets in unmarked vehicles with no identification. They've taken the license plates off their cars, they jump out of those cars, and they grab my neighbors off my streets. That is terror. That is chaos. That is not law enforcement. That is the indiscriminate application of state violence to our neighbors. And it is tearing our communities apart at the seams. We're all worked up. We're all rightly incensed about what we see in the news in foreign countries, where foreign states and foreign dictators turn their armed officials loose on protesters, on peaceful protesters, to commit indiscriminate acts of violence, to kill those protesters, to silence that dissent, to silence media reporting about what's happening in those countries. We're mad about it, and we should be. And it is happening in our streets. It's happening in my district. It's happening in the state of Minnesota. They have told us that they are coming back here to do this again on steroids in the future in my community. And I can tell you that citizens, legal permanent residents, undocumented people, parents, children, grandparents are terrified, and rightly so, because there has been no check and no break on the violence that federal officials have unleashed in our communities. It is an unconscionable exercise of brute force. We see the videos every single day against unarmed, peaceful protesters. It cannot be tolerated, and I am so grateful to the sponsor for introducing this resolution to push back on this outrageous behavior, and I urge an aye vote.